Hey yogis and mamas, my name is Nancy and today I am bringing you a prenatal yin yoga class. You can follow along if you'd like with the sequence that I have up on my blog at nancynelsonyoga.com. You can utilize it as a resource for later if you want to practice it again and can't access the video. Today's practice, like I said, will be yin yoga in style, which is a style of yoga that works to create deep release in the connective tissues of the body. So going a little further than just muscular flexibility and release, we'll kind of stress the tissues of the body that really determine our long-term mobility. Now, in pregnancy, that's going to be a little different. So today's practice, I do want to just note that you will want to make sure that you have permission from your doctor to practice yoga and to practice deep stretching in your body, especially if you're pregnant, but in any case, this class will work for any practitioner regardless of your current situation. So the poses that we're going to work into will really work into the hips as well as the low back. Just kind of some of these trouble spots that we run into during pregnancy. I'm in my third trimester. I'm 31 weeks pregnant, but it's suitable for all trimesters. Just depending on what you're going through, you might need to modify more or less. Feel free to utilize your props in any way that you find might be beneficial to you, as well as backing out of the pose at any point and for any reason that you just feel intuitively that you need to do for yourself. The holds that we're going to be practicing today in yin yoga, the way that you advance in your practice is by holding postures longer. But today, because of what's going on in the body during pregnancy with the hormone shifts, especially with the increase in relaxin through the body, it's less natural to notice those spots where you're going too far because the body is just extra relaxed as it prepares for labor. So especially in your first and third trimester, relaxin is going to be at its highest peak in the body. So you'll want to be mindful of how long you're in the poses. The maximum amount of time that I'll have you in a posture today will be about 3 minutes. Whereas in other yin practices, you might hold some of these poses for 5 to 10 minutes. And of course, 3 minutes isn't necessarily right or wrong. It's just my recommendation for maximum hold time during pregnancy, especially during the first and third trimesters when it's less clear when we need to stop and how deep we need to go. Some of that just gets masked by these hormone fluctuations. So just be mindful of that, and I'm looking forward to having you today for our practice. Okay, so today we're going to begin just in an easy seated position, whatever that looks like for you. For me personally, I prefer to have my hips slightly elevated so that my pelvis can slightly tip forward. And my tailbone can kind of reach just slightly back behind me to alleviate some of that rounding that we tend to do throughout the day sitting. Feet can be crossed, or you can bring your legs into a butterfly position. Start with your hands on your legs and begin to just kind of roll out the shoulders, releasing any residual tension there from your day. And if you'd like, you can drop the head side to side a couple times to release through the neck. Eventually, allow the eyes to soften forward or just to close down for a few moments as we just take a moment to connect with this moment at hand. There's a lot of hustle and bustle that comes along with being pregnant and expecting a little one. And so it's easy to get caught up in what's ahead or what's behind and kind of lose track of these sweet spots, these moments where we can just slow down and embrace the gift of the present. One really tangible way that we can do that is by deeply breathing, utilizing the lungs as best we can here, even though things are a little more crowded internally during pregnancy. And imagining you could fill up 3 compartments, your lower belly, your outer rib cage, and then up into your chest every time you breathe in. Feeling the expansion and openness in those areas, and then every time you breathe out, feeling everything return back to neutral. And just breathe like that a few rounds in and out. Letting the muscles of the face be soft. Noticing the calming effect that your breath has over the physical body, but also noticing how it calms and massages the nervous system, reminding you that you're okay. That it's okay to be here, to be present, to be still. If you'd like to carry a mantra into today's practice with you, I'll encourage the following mantra. In your inhales, breathing in the words, I am loved, I am healthy, I am supported. And on your exhale, sending these words out to your baby or a person on your mind. You are loved, you are healthy, you are supported. I am loved, I am healthy, I am supported. You are loved, you are healthy, you are supported. Take just a few more breaths here. And then gently flicker the eyes open. And you can release the legs and shake them out a little bit if you'd like. Just kind of unravel, point and flex the toes if it feels good. Maybe take a cleansing breath out of the mouth. And just come into this wide V position. So there's plenty of space for baby. And we'll start with just a neck stretch. So we're going to begin to take that right arm out like a wing and place the back of the hand to the low back. And as you do that, you can just let the shoulder head soften here, especially this right shoulder. Take an inhale, lifting the crown of the head straight up. And as you exhale, begin to drop the left ear to the left shoulder. Left hand can kind of crawl out to the side if that feels beneficial to you. Just breathing into this shape here. If you want to, you can kind of explore gentle movement, maybe tilting the chin down and up slightly, just exploring the different variations of sensation. Eventually finding a place where you feel quite a bit and just gently leaning into it, holding on and breathing for about 3 more rounds of breath. We'll lift the head back to center. Take your time, just releasing that right arm, rolling out the shoulders if you'd like. We'll move to the other side when you're ready. So this time, left hand comes down to the low back. Elbow comes out kind of like a little wing. And then your right hand can walk out to the right side. Right ear drops to the right shoulder when you're ready. Coming into your neck stretch. And again, don't be afraid to explore little variations. The neck is a pretty tedious area of the body. So once you find that sweet spot, just hang into it for a few deep breaths. One more breath here. And when you're ready, rise back up, gently coming back into neutral. And then with our legs in this position, we're going to begin to move into a lateral stretch. So we'll start by bending the right knee, placing the heel in toward the hip. We'll take a block and or a bolster to the in or outside of that left leg, which is extended. And as you set it up, we're going to just place the block and bolster, whatever you're using, to the height that works best for you. So you may need to adjust it as we get into the pose. So we're going to begin by taking the elbow down to your prop and then resting the head into the hand. And always making sure you have space for baby, so you might need to adjust that right foot out just a bit if your belly is getting in the way. As you land into this position here, that right arm can stay just grounded to the right hip as you're lengthening out this right side body. You can even add a little gentle massage through the side body. If you'd like to take the arm somewhere, you can reach it up and overhead, just kind of letting it dangle overhead. Palm of the hand hangs heavy. And just breathing here, focusing on those 3 compartments that you're breathing into for full inhales and exhales. Lower belly, outer ribs, upper chest. If you find the sensation to be too much at any point, back out. And if you need a little bit more, maybe you go a little closer toward the ground. And just being mindful of sensation, knowing that when you're pregnant, your body is not only releasing that hormone relaxin, but we also just tend to be more flexible in general because of our bodies preparing to birth and deliver. So I would recommend just going to where you normally go when you're not pregnant, not exceeding beyond that limit, or maybe even going 30% less than that if it's hard for you to identify stopping points. Keeping that breath flowing here. Your next inhale will begin to rise all the way back up, nice and slow. One little section of the pose at a time. Take a moment to pause and just feel the difference in length and openness from side to side. Taking a deep breath here. When you're ready, we'll move to the other side. So gently just reposition your legs. So the right leg goes straight this time. Props can move over to the right side. And then that left foot comes in. And then when you're ready, we'll begin to place the elbow down onto the block and the head just rests into the hand. And this side might have different needs, so feel free to fine-tune, to have a unique experience on this side. In pregnancy, it's generally recommended to rest and sleep on your left side. So I've been doing that quite a bit, and my right side has gotten a little more cranky because of it. So in these moments, you might notice little imbalances, and that's okay. Just do your best to create equanimity by breathing, allowing your breath to kind of stabilize and bring everything back into balance. You don't really have to do anything extra yourself. And again, as you breathe, maybe relocating that mantra. I am loved, I am healthy, I am supported. You are loved, you are healthy, you are supported. Nothing else matters beyond that in this moment. I am loved, I am healthy, I am supported. From here, we'll begin to come back up. Take your time, nice and easy. And just pausing in center for a moment, just feeling the release, the shift. And from here, you can wiggle out the legs once more, anything that you feel like you need. Any kind of adjustment or stretch. We'll now take the legs into a V position, and this V can be whatever amount of open works best for you. I find that bringing mine not too wide out to my very widest place will help me to keep my knees and ankles happy, but it might be a different situation for you. You can go more narrow or open out even further. So just figure out what works. And then when you're ready, we're going to begin to fold forward, just straight out in front of the pelvis. So if you're using a bolster, leave a good amount of space for baby to kind of dip into. And then you can use additional props under the head, or maybe just start with the head lifted. We're just finding that first little surge of sensation. So there's no need to rush past anything. Give yourself the opportunity to slow down. You don't have to worry about what's ahead or what's behind. You can just be here. And whatever that looks and feels like is your unique experience. And from here, we'll slowly begin to ease our way back up and out of the pose. You can set your props out to the sides here, bending into your knees for a moment. Maybe placing the hands behind you, rocking side to side, anything that feels good. And from here, we're going to begin to come into a tabletop position. So if you have sensitivity in your knees or your ankles, you can utilize props to support you. Same with your wrists. If you have a blanket you'd like to angle your wrists onto, feel free. Now in your tabletop, instead of just moving through a few traditional cat and cow motions, we're going to move through something that helps to uplift and engage the pelvic floor. So sort of like a Yogi Kegel kind of movement. So I like to think of this as just little hugs for baby. So on your inhales, you're going to breathe deep and just let the baby sink toward the floor. So your belly just kind of grows, your back slightly arches. And then on your exhales, you're going to draw your pelvis up and in, sort of like you're engaging Mula Bandha. And then bring your back into a neutral position, squeezing your outer ribs slightly in. Good. Inhale, let the belly drop, the heart reaches slightly forward. Exhale, back returns to neutral as you engage through the pelvic floor, outer ribs wrap in. So it's very subtle, it's not a big crunch movement. It's just a gentle release and then engagement. Almost imagining your rib cage literally giving baby a little hug here. And of course, if there's additional movements that you prefer to take here, you're welcome to go for those instead. You can maintain this same movement, or you can add in another element with arm lifts. So on your inhales, letting belly drop, baby kind of sink in. And then as you exhale, spine returns to neutral. Press into your right hand and lift your left hand up. Good. Inhale, set the hand down, let the belly drop, gaze reach. Exhale, press into left hand, engage the pelvic floor as the right arm lifts. Slowly set it down, inhale, sink. Exhale to the left. Inhale, set it down. Exhale to the right. You can take a few more rounds in either of these variations, or you can also add in the opposite leg. Exhaling as the left hand lifts, right knee and shin just barely hover. Inhale, belly drops, heart reaches. Exhale to the other side. Inhale. Exhale. We'll come back into a neutral spine from here. If you want a little wrist release, feel free to turn the backs of the hands down. Take a moment to move through anything that feels good for you. And then from here, when you feel ready, we're going to begin to curl all 10 toes under. So find your version of that. I know this is a really tight spot for a lot of us, and especially when we're carrying extra weight. This pose does tend to get a little more intense. So we'll begin to walk the hips back toward the heels. You don't actually have to sit all the way back. You can kind of gauge the amount of pressure you're placing onto the feet. You can even sit onto a rolled blanket if that helps support your knees a little better. Hands can stay down here, or if you feel ready for a little more sensation, you can walk the hands up the thighs and add the full weight of your torso down toward the feet. Now, if anything starts to feel tingly, like it's going to sleep, back out and find a place where you can feel full sensation, nothing feels numbed. As you land here, you might just want to check and see how the pinky toes are doing, if they've tried to take the escape route. Tuck them back under. And sometimes the mechanics of this just aren't the same in everyone's body, so if all of your toes don't tuck, that's okay. Just find a place that feels right to you and focus on the quality of your breath here. And instead of focusing on the discomfort you feel as you breathe and as you're still, maybe you close your eyes and come back to that mantra. I am loved, I am healthy, I am supported. You are loved, you are healthy, you are supported. Speaking that over you and over baby. If you're able, we're in our final minute here. There's always the option to back out if you need to. again to release the pose slowly. Walking the hands forward, you can uncurl the toes, pat the feet on the mat. Feeling warmth probably there. A little bit of release, maybe stretch out your toes, roll out your ankles. Shift your hips side to side if you'd like. During pregnancy, because we have extra weight coming down, the arches of our feet tend to fall just a bit. And so poses like our toe squat there help to strengthen the inner ankle and reestablish the arch in the feet. So it can be really beneficial. For our next pose, you'll want to make sure that you have your bolster or pillow somewhat handy for in a moment. And then I would recommend taking a blanket and bringing it out nice and wide. I like to take it to its widest option, just so I've got a lot of surface area to work with. So you can decide what that looks like for you. And when you're ready, we're just going to start in a tadpole, so a wide-legged child's pose. So you'll come from tabletop, uncurl the toes, big toes close-ish together, knees open out wide, depending on how much space you need for your baby. And then forward and down. You can use your bolster under your chest here, or if you're comfortable coming all the way down, you can just begin to stretch forward, letting the chest melt down and your head turn. Making sure if you're turning your head to one side that you switch to the other side for an equal amount of time. If this pose feels like plenty of sensation, I want you to just stay. Just enjoy the nice pull of gravity drawing you in. If you'd like to explore a little further going into your full frog pose, you'll rise back up and shift your weight forward so your hips line up in between the knees. You'll begin to separate the feet, and you can bring the feet down, big toe edges, or you can point the toes back. It really doesn't matter. Just find what feels better for you. And then begin to widen your knees as much as you can, keeping the hips sinking straight down toward the floor. This is where your bolster will come especially in handy as we open up pretty deeply. You want a place to land. You can come down to your forearms or place your head to a block here. We're not here for too long, so just find a place where you can settle, whether it's here or in your child's pose, and breathe. And from wherever you are, we'll slowly begin to make our way back up and out of the pose. Especially if you are in frog, we'll begin to guide the knees in toward one another. And we'll begin to sit up, if it's comfortable for you, onto the heels with the toes uncurled. Coming into a counter stretch for the hips, as well as for the ankles from our previous toe stretch. So just sitting up, maybe taking a hand to the belly, a hand to the heart, and just kind of feeling the inner rhythms, the breath, and the heartbeat. If you've got a little wiggler in there, you might be also feeling that. All of these internal sensations that we're experiencing are gifts. So take a moment just to relish in them. Releasing your hands down, we'll begin to prepare for our next pose. So you can put your blanket off to the side. You can roll it back up, fold it up, whatever you'd like to do, so it's handy for later. And then I recommend having a block, maybe a bolster as well, nearby for our next position. So we're going to begin to move into our dangling pose. So you'll begin to come up into a half forward fold position to start. Taking your feet out about as wide as the mat, maybe slightly wider depending on how your body is adjusting to baby and having that extra space there. And then we'll begin to just fold down, releasing the weight of the torso toward the floor. You can bring your elbows to a block. You can let your head just kind of cradle into the arms or toward the floor. And then you're welcome to bend your knees as much as needed here. I find having a prop underneath my arms just gives me that reassurance that I'm gonna remain balanced here. I'm not gonna fall. You can adjust however you'd like to do so. Keeping the breath flowing here. Reminding yourself, reminding baby that you are loved, healthy, and supported here. From here, we'll slowly rise back up to that half lifted position. So take your time. You'll want to get your bearings here. You can wiggle the feet in just a smidge. We're going to come down into a squat position. So bending the knees, heels in, toes out. Depending on how you feel here, it might feel better to utilize a block underneath you or a bolster as a little stool to sit onto. So you decide what works best for you. And then from here, you can bring your hands together at heart center, or if you'd like, you can decide to turn the backs of the hands together to get a wrist stretch. I'm thinking about allowing the legs to just kind of open up as the hips sink toward the floor. The crown of the head lifts upward toward the sky so the spine is nice and long here. This is also a great position to practice some of those pelvic lifts in. So if you feel so inclined to do so here, you're welcome to practice a few rounds on your exhales, just thinking of drawing the pelvic floor up and slightly inward to engage and strengthen down there. This is also a position that you might find yourself in at some point during labor, as it's a very natural position for release. So it's a good place to just kind of be here to get acquainted with the pose, to practice deep breathing, and just feeling your body kind of organically sinking into it and settling. And just have about another minute here. We'll begin to release the hands here. And then we'll make our way into a seated position once more. So you can gently just lean back or move your prop if it's there, coming down to seated. We're going to move into our deer pose next. So you're going to begin to bring the right shin forward of you toward the top of the mat. Your left shin will come down to the left side. You can decide how your foot is oriented here. You just want to make sure that the foot and knee and ankle all feel happy and supported. I like to use a blanket to cushion my knees. And then having your bolster or blocks handy will be a great way to kind of catch you at that place where you find the right depth. So using an exhale, just begin to make your descent into the pose, folding forward. You can be squared straight forward, or you can angle yourself slightly to one side or the other. It doesn't really matter, just find what feels best for you and for your body. And eventually find a position where you can Just fold and release. From here, we'll slowly begin to pick ourselves back up. And as you come up, we're going to maintain this same position. We'll just find some release through the quad and hip flexor by walking the hands behind us and just kind of leaning back. You can scoot the cushion of the hips slightly forward, tucking the tailbone under just a little bit if you feel any pinching in the low back. You can just stay right here. As soon as you start to feel this, I want you to pause. If you need a little bit more sensation, you can come down to your forearms. You just want to be mindful, no sharp, painful sensations, only the good kind. Wherever you feel this most intensely, sending your breath into those spots. Your breath communicates with the mind where to send the release, the oxygen. From here, we're going to begin to come back up, taking your time, especially if you've lowered to the forearms, to make your way up. Once you come up, we're just going to switch to the other side of our deer pose. So you can just swing the left shin now forward, moving your props around in any way you need to. Right shin out to the side. We'll begin with our fold. So when you're ready, you'll begin to make your way forward. Noticing if you need a different first stopping point here. You always have the opportunity to slow down and to have a new experience. You aren't tied to what happened on the other side. The more intuitive we can become on our mats in these moments, the more intuitive and aligned we become in the moments to come and the moments throughout the rest of our pregnancies, through our labor experience. We want to be deeply connected to our needs and willing to honor the places that we need more or less. From here, we'll slowly begin to rise back up, taking your time. Again, we'll maintain this position through the legs and we'll begin to lean back into the hands. Scooting the hips forward if that helps. And just focusing your awareness into the spaces where you feel this. You deciding when you want to go deeper, if you want to go deeper than this. There's no rush or agenda that you have to stick to, even if this side is slightly different than the first. Allowing the muscles and the tissues to really relax and soften on each exhale. And just kind of settling into the release that you feel. From here, we'll slowly begin to make our way up. Really taking your time, there's no rush at all. And as you come up this time, we'll just begin to release the legs. You can straighten them out. Shake out the legs and the knees, the hips, anything you need. We'll begin to set up for our Shavasana, our final pose. And you can take any position that works for you at this point in your pregnancy. If you'd like to come into a reclined position on a bolster, I'd recommend a block behind you, and then your bolster can just kind of lay onto it. So the top of the bolster is kind of in the same area as the block. And then when you're ready, we'll begin to either just take the legs into whatever position works best for you, or if you want to experiment with a supported leg variation, I think it feels pretty nice for my body, but that's me, so you decide. You're going to take your blanket to the longest length it'll go, and then just begin to fold it over so it kind of turns into a little rope type of thing. And we're going to take our legs into a butterfly position, and we're going to take the blanket, lay it over top the ankles. The next step, you'll reach in between your legs, grab for those two tail ends and pull them all the way through. So you can see I've got my two ends here. And then you can adjust how far forward or in close your legs are. You're just going to thread those tail ends underneath the layer that is on top of your feet. And you can tuck it even further if you'd like, or you can just let the tail ends reach out. Final option here is if you'd like to have blocks under your knees just for an additional sense of support. Totally optional, of course. And then as you come back, you might need to adjust just slightly, but go down slowly as to kind of honor your transition back and not overstretch anything. I like to tuck the base of the crown of my head, the very top of where my neck meets my head, to the bolster. And then your hands can come to rest to the belly, they can come out to the sides, whatever feels a little bit better for you. As you settle in, you can move through some rounds of pranayama if you'd like to go through a breathing technique. Or you just begin to arrive into your Shavasana, letting go of control over the breath, allowing it to settle back into its natural rhythm, the one you don't even have to think about. It just holds you up and supports you as you go through your day. Recognizing that same mantra as true here in this moment. I am loved, I am healthy, I am supported. You are loved, you are healthy, you are supported. Allowing those words to resonate with you and sink in as you take a moment to rest. And of course, you're welcome to stay in Shavasana as long as you'd like. If you're ready to reawaken, gently wiggle the fingers and the toes. Parting your lips, maybe you roll your head side to side. And if it feels nice, taking your arms up and overhead, breathing in a deep inhale. Open your mouth and pour it out. And we'll begin to guide the knees toward one another. And we'll begin to roll onto the left side body into a fetal position. So extend your left arm so you can rest your head onto it. Right hand can come out in front of the chest. And just take a moment here in this pose that represents fresh starts, the opportunity to begin again. Maybe considering the fresh start just of this moment right here. You get to let go of the past, whatever has happened throughout your pregnancy, throughout this day, this week, and you get to start fresh with renewed perspective. Also celebrating the fact that there's life within you, both in your body, mind, and spirit, but also in your little ones. What an amazing gift it is to be able to usher them into the beginning, the newness of their life here on earth. Taking this awareness with you, we'll begin to press up to a comfortable seat. No rush at all to get there. You can unwrap your feet if they're still wrapped up. Just finding any comfortable position that works for you. And we'll draw the palms together at heart center. One final time, reconnecting with our mantra. As you inhale, I am loved, I am healthy, I am supported. And as you exhale, you are loved, you are healthy, you are supported. What a sweet reminder that is to take with you into your day, to draw you back into the present moment. Namaste. Well, thank you, mamas, so much for joining me for that prenatal session. I would love to hear from you any reflections or questions that you might have about your experience today. You're welcome to visit my website, nancynelsonyoga.com, for more sequences and information. And as always, take good care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time.